Imagine you're a stand-up comedian in the middle of a set. The crowd is on your side, the energy is perfect, and then comes a shocking interruption. You were handed a stack of legal papers. You are being sued for $27 million over a joke about a Disney movie. That comedian is Learnmore Jonasi. He's a rising talent from Zimbabwe who has been performing in clubs and theaters across the United States. The man filing the suit is Lebo M. He is the Grammy-winning South African composer who wrote and performed the iconic opening chant for The Lion King. He is one of the most respected voices in the history of African music. The conflict started with a viral podcast clip. Jonasi offered a comedic, literal translation of Lebo M's famous isiZulu chant, Nants'ingonyama. In Jonasi's version, the majestic opening doesn't translate to a deep philosophical truth, but rather, look, there's a lion, oh my God. This $27 million demand has turned a podcast punchline into a massive legal dispute. It brings up difficult questions about copyright, defamation, and the way African heritage is presented to a global audience. Jonasi's comedic style is rooted in his upbringing. He was raised by his grandparents in Chimanimani, a rural village in the mountains of Zimbabwe. He grew up in a traditional setting, but he learned English by watching American sitcoms and Western stand-up comedy specials on television. When he moved to Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, to start his career, he struggled. He spent years performing for free and frequently being booed off stage because his early material failed to connect with the city's open audiences. His breakthrough happened in the city of Bulawayo. He stopped trying to sound like an urban comic and instead leaned into his rural background, developing a persona he calls the village boy. By embracing his own story, he found a way to point out the gap between the reality of African village life and the expectations of the Western world. In 2021, Jonasi moved to the United States. Within 3 years, he was competing on the national stage in season 19 of America's Got Talent. He became a sound favorite, eventually receiving the golden buzzer from his childhood idol Terry Crews. Jonasi's act succeeded by contrasting his rural Zimbabwean upbringing with the excesses of American life. But his rise hit a wall with that viral podcast clip. The joke about the Lion King was actually a small part of a 2-hour discussion where Jonasi was critiquing how Western pop culture portrays Africa. He was arguing that Hollywood often uses lazy stereotypes, like giving African lions American accents. He used the translation joke to illustrate his point. But online, that context disappeared. 5 seconds of audio were cut and shared until they reached Lebo M. He viewed the clip as a direct insult to isiZulu praise poetry, filing a $27 million lawsuit for defamation and unlawful commercial use. The mechanics of viral social media took a long-form critique of cultural representation and reduced it to a single expensive legal threat. Jonasi has refused to back down. He has publicly mocked the lawsuit during his shows and launched a GoFundMe campaign to help pay for his legal defense. He has also started selling merchandise to fund the case. He's released t-shirts featuring an animated version of himself holding a lion cub with the slogan, "It's a lion." The dispute has become increasingly personal. Jonasi claims that during their private messages, Lebo M called him self-hating, an accusation the comedian has publicly rejected. Jonasi argues that his comedy is a way to bridge the gap between myth and reality. He believes that if he can make people laugh, they will be more open to hearing the truth about where he comes from. Regardless of the final verdict in the $27 million case, Jonasi has reached a global audience. He's gone from being booed in Harare to participating in a high-stakes legal battle over the very stories he uses to challenge international stereotypes.